Shamgar Connors.
My unicorn. Hello, everyone. Shamgar Connors, Hartwood District. But today I identify as the pimp of pride. Obviously, today I'm here to show my solidarity in support of item number 32 on the agenda, where it stunningly and bravely says that Stafford will recognize June as a month of recognition and support for individuals of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities in Stafford County. Yay, it brings me so much joy. I just want to help Stafford on its quest to become the ultimate modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, we know that in Stafford schools right now, boys are allowed to use the women's bathrooms and women's spaces as per the official school board policy, which I did speak about 3 weeks ago when I came and spoke as my true self as a transgender Olympic swimmer and told the school board, the superintendent, thank you for supporting trans rights, okay? Despite that turbo orange Cheeto Trump's executive orders, remember, trans rights are human rights. But it's time to implement the next phase of our Marxist takeover of this city. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I'm here to say that we deserve special recognitions and praises because of our buttload of pride and our diverse bedroom activities. But who cares about other groups like veterans? They don't know what it's like to go and be in a war against bigots. Here's some stats of the amazing LGBT community that we're celebrating, okay? Gay men are 60 times more likely to have HIV than straight men. On average, most gay men have had over 500 to over 1,000 sex partners. 78% of the LGBT community have STDs. 99.8% of lesbian, gay, and bisexual teens will change their sexuality within 13 years. Just more sexuality is for Stafford to celebrate. Gay men make up 1.65% of the population, but have over 63% of the syphilis cases. Gay men are 15 times more likely to have hepatitis B. LGBT community is by far more likely to have anxiety, depression, bipolar disorders, and to commit permanent life game over than straight people. LGBTQ have higher divorce rates. Homosexual men have 17 times higher rate of anal cancer. The transgender life permanent game over rate is 52%. 53% of mothers of transsexual children have borderline personality disorder. That's trans housing by proxy, by the way. Homosexuals make up 2% of the population, but are 40% of all pedophile cases. 47% of gays were abused by an adult when they were children and adolescents, and many homosexual men need to wear diapers for the rest of their lives due to anal leakage. Now, with numbers like that, isn't it obvious why we have so much pride? I mean, it is really important to remember that we in the LGBT community, we can't reproduce, we can only recruit. So we need to attract more people to our movement. So that way we have a larger dating pool to pick from. Now we're requesting that Stafford hosts a pride parade to make LGBTQ look cool and trendy. So when we spawn camp children at schools, like how Sesame Street and Disney do, they will be influenced by our propaganda and grow up to give us more people to hook up with. After all, that's the entire purpose of pride and the LGBTQ movement. It's about who we can help, who we can hook up with, all the randos we can, and celebrating it. I mean, some people even play with poop. Now, sorry to be a pain in the butt about this, although some people might like that. I just really care about pride in Stafford County. So remember, everyone, trans rights are human rights. Thank you, everybody.
James Fisher.
I sat here and listened to some of the comments about Pride Month and some of the comments about our fellow constituents. And it breaks my heart. I don't necessarily agree with every decision everyone makes. But the beauty of being an American is we have that freedom to make our own decision. But to not create a community of tolerance and acceptance, to me, is crazy. Because at one point, and I'm not trying to be controversial, I'm not trying to stir the pot, but at one point in our history, people that look like me were considered others and were treated the same way. And so it took painful amount of time for us to get here, for us to be accepted. And so in some ways, we still are not accepted, but we've had over 200 plus years of this. And so for me to sit here and not open up at least my heart and my community to be accepting of others, that's just not who I am. Pro-LGBTQ. The only thing, at least for my decision, is just to, what I've asked for, not explicitly, but through my vote, is to just say you accept someone being different from you, and that's it. My grandmother used to always say, you know, judge not, from the Bible, that's what she would quote to me, judge not lest you be judged. And for me, my ethos has always been, the greatest adjudicator will meet me when that time comes. And so I'm not here to judge anyone's lifestyle, any decisions they make, whatever they do. I just want us to have a community of tolerance, because we have so many children and impressionable people that look up to us as adults and as leaders. And if we can't create a community of tolerance, then we're just further allowing the intolerance that's been brewing in this country to continue.
I'm also a Christian woman, and so I wanted to address one thing, in that there was this mention, and I'll try to be brief on this, there was this mention of Sodom and Gomorrah earlier. Well, I also happen to be not just a Christian woman, but I have my theology degree, and I'm earning my Master's of Divinity. And Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed for lack of hospitality. It had nothing to do with homosexuality. What? So if anyone is confused about that, happy to talk with you later if you have questions, or go look it up again. There's a lot that we can get confused on, and that's fair. It's easy too. There's a lot of information out there that's not accurate, not just around data centers, right?
Why it's important to celebrate people. Sometimes I think I'm a walking conflict, because I'm a Christian, I'm a black man, I'm a veteran, I serve in law enforcement, and I'm gay.
Why are you gay?
And when you talk about Pride Month, why is it so important? Mental health issues, the depression, the isolation, people wanting to commit suicide. And I heard the gentleman, I wish he was still here, when you talk about veterans, I've lost several friends who committed. They've gone overseas and fought for this country in specialized units, and they come back and ultimately they commit because they can't come out and be who they are. Can you imagine all the things that they've gone through, but they come back and they're afraid of losing their families, they're afraid of losing their friends, and so they choose over living their truth.
Today's question is, what was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah? In this video, I'll answer that question from a biblical perspective. And afterwards, as always, I'll share some helpful resources, so stick around until the end. The biblical account of Sodom and Gomorrah is recorded in Genesis chapters 18 and 19. Genesis chapter 18 records the Lord and two angels coming to speak with Abraham. The Lord informed Abraham that the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin so grievous. Genesis 18, verse 20. Verses 22 through 33 record Abraham pleading with the Lord to have mercy on Sodom and Gomorrah because Abraham's nephew Lot and his family lived in Sodom. Genesis chapter 19 records the two angels disguised as human men visiting Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot met the angels in the city square and urged them to stay at his house. The angels agreed. The Bible then informs us, before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Genesis chapter 19, verses 4 through 5. The angels then proceeded to blind all the men of Sodom and Gomorrah and urged Lot and his family to flee from the cities to escape the wrath that God was about to deliver. Lot and his family fled the city, and then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, including all those living in the cities. Genesis chapter 19, verse 24. In light of the passage, the most common response to the question, what was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, is that it was homosexuality. That is how the term sodomy came to be used to refer to anal sex between two men, whether consensual or forced. Clearly, homosexuality was part of why God destroyed the two cities. The men of Sodom and Gomorrah wanted to perform homosexual gay on the two angels, who were disguised as men. At the same time, it is not biblical to say that homosexuality was the exclusive reason why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were definitely not exclusive in terms of the sin in which they indulged. Ezekiel chapter 16 verses 49 through 50 declares, "Now this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me." The Hebrew word translated detestable refers to something that is morally disgusting, and it is the exact same word used in Leviticus chapter 18 verse 22 that refers to homosexuality as an abomination. Similarly, Jude 7 declares, "Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion." So again, while homosexuality was not the only sin in which the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah indulged, it does appear to be the primary reason for the destruction of the cities. Those who attempt to explain away the biblical condemnations of homosexuality claim that the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was inhospitality. The men of Sodom and Gomorrah were certainly being inhospitable. There is probably nothing more inhospitable than homosexual gang. But to say God completely destroyed two cities and all their inhabitants for being inhospitable clearly misses the point. While Sodom and Gomorrah were guilty of many other horrendous sins, homosexuality was the reason God poured fiery sulfur on the cities, completely destroying them and all of their inhabitants. To this day, the area where Sodom and Gomorrah were located remains a desolate wasteland. Sodom and Gomorrah serve as a powerful example of how God feels about sin in general and homosexuality specifically. Want to learn more? Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Visit gotquestions.org for more great content and check out the details section below this video. There's one book I recommend along with several related articles. If you'd like to learn more about Bible Munch, or if you're interested in bite-sized devotionals, subscribe to Bible Munch on YouTube. It's linked right here. Now remember, got questions? The Bible has answers and we'll help you find them.